The Consumer Price Index is out for November, and it looks like we're starting to see some relief as the inflation rate has come down to 7.1%. Remember, the Federal Reserve target is 2%, so this is still incredibly high, and the American consumer is still being burdened by soaring prices. At 7.1%, November CPI is the slowest year-over-year pace of inflation we've seen since the beginning of 2022. It also marks the fifth consecutive month the annual inflation rate has declined. This looks good at first glance, but is it really smooth sailing from here? Hardly. A closer look at core inflation suggests inflation is sticky and price pressures could be with us for the foreseeable future. Core CPI for November came in at an even 6%. That is an improvement over October's core rate of 6.3%. But here's something to consider. So far this year, from January through November, annual core CPI has averaged 6.19%. That's just slightly above the November number. Not a big change. Core CPI right now is basically where it's been all year long. One of the reasons for that is the trouble we're seeing from inflation in the price of services. Services inflation, exclusive of energy, was up 6.8% year over year in November. That means last month, when all the supposed good news about inflation unfolded, service inflation made its biggest annual jump since this cycle of rising prices began. New York Fed President John Williams recently noted the underlying issue of core services inflation is still very much there. And Cleveland Fed President Loretta Mester likewise admitted, "I haven't seen a lot of evidence that services inflation is coming down." For anyone who thinks inflation is almost behind us, economist Dr. Victor Klar has a useful reminder. Prices are still rising, inflation remains too high, and the Fed remains nervous. Even as prices moderate, they're still much higher than pre-health crisis levels. Digesting no more than sound bites and headlines from mainstream media might lead one to conclude that our inflation troubles are fading quickly. But it's worth examining a little more closely what's behind the curtain. We'll keep you up to date as the story unfolds. Until next time.